Hey guys, this is Noah with Sparksight, where we make video easy. Today I'm going to be talking about a question that I personally get asked a lot, and that's if it makes more sense to buy a pre-built PC from a system integrator like Dell, Alienware, or iBuyPower, or if you should just go ahead and build your own PC from scratch. My answer is, well, it depends on the kind of person you are, how you want to invest your time, and how you want to invest your money, most of all. With holiday season approaching and with PC gaming especially being more popular than it's ever been before, I imagine this is something that a lot of people, especially people who are new to all of this, have on their mind. And with all the professionals, editors and animators who are working from home, who may be interested in upgrading their old MacBook Air that's getting a little slow, this also probably would concern them as well. So just jumping right into it, the main thing that pops up a lot in this discussion is the fact that building a PC yourself, getting all the individual components and putting it together on your own, tends to be cheaper, sometimes much cheaper. And the reason for this is pretty obvious. If someone else is getting the components and putting them together for you, they have to make money somehow, so they're going to charge you a bit of a premium for that. So if you were to take two systems with similar major components and a similar performance, most likely the custom-built PC is going to be cheaper than the one built by someone like Dell or iBuyPower or whoever else is putting the system together. Now I want to add a bit of a caveat to that, because sometimes you'll find certain pre-built systems online that are actually similarly priced, or in some rare cases even cheaper. And the reason for this is because, especially with budget parts where it's easier for the system builder to get large numbers of parts in bulk, they can charge you less for that particular component. However, the more expensive the individual components, the more high-end the overall PC, the more likely you're going to see this divergence, and the more it's going to make financial sense to just build your own computer. The real thing to consider, and the thing that isn't mentioned as often, is that online system builders are much more likely to cut corners with parts that aren't as flashy. So while you may have name brand, good quality components for things like the processor and the GPU, for a lot of the other things like maybe the motherboard, the RAM, or the power supply, they'll kind of get by with something more second rate, something that's cheaper that'll get you through the 1-year warranty, but who knows what'll happen after that. Sometimes it works out just fine, other times not as much. There are, of course, online system builders who do charge a bit more of a premium but don't have those pitfalls, so that's the trade-off you have to make. Typically, the higher quality, better, well-tested stuff is going to cost you more. That's just how it is. Moving past all the cost stuff, the physical assembly of the PC is actually a lot easier than a lot of people think it is. In fact, it's easier than it's probably ever been, with so many advances in modularity, making it really simple to just slot different components together. Simplifications of what connects to what. Long gone are the days of having to flip little switches and do weird stuff to make everything work. Most of the time, you just plug everything together and turn it on. And really, one of the biggest things is that it gives you much more control over the individual parts in your system. If you get a computer from a pre-built system builder online, they have a much narrower selection of the parts you can use, because those are the parts that they bought in bulk and the ones that they're trying to move around. Think about it like buying a pizza from a cheap pizza place versus making one yourself. If you're the kind of person that just doesn't care about what ingredients are on the pizza, or couldn't be bothered of pepperoni versus sausage or whatever, maybe it doesn't matter and you just order the cheap pizza online. But if you're the kind of person that really wants to know where their ingredients came from, what nutritional value is in them, and what they're doing for you, making a pizza yourself from scratch is probably the right way to go. However, this is a double-edged sword, because the most difficult part of making a PC yourself probably is all of the options that you have. And it really can be overwhelming, especially for new people, to this whole thing. So for some people who don't want to go through the effort of making their own pizza from scratch, maybe it really does make more sense to just order something online and have it delivered. With certain items going in and out of stock, with prices fluctuating rapidly, new parts coming in, old parts going out, with people online and all their very dramatically different opinions on different things, it can be really confusing to parse out what it is that you want, what it is that you need, and what it is that you don't need. But the upside of this flexibility is that it makes it much easier to have upgrade paths in the future. Instead of having to replace an entire laptop or buy a whole new Mac Pro, with building your own PC, individual components can be swapped out and changed for newer things later. However, something that people don't mention as often is that this upgrade process isn't always as smooth as it's made out to be. There are a number of components in the computer that go together. They're compatibility requirements. The main one, the most common one you'll run into, is that certain processors only work on certain motherboards. And so a lot of the times, if you wait more than a few years to upgrade your system, when you upgrade your processor, you'll have to upgrade your motherboard too, and maybe the RAM along with it. Maybe if you get a new super high-end graphics card, you're going to need to upgrade your power supply to keep up with it. Maybe if you get a new cooler, you're going to have to get a bigger case because your previous case wasn't wide enough to support it. There are a lot of little gotchas like that, a lot of little things where you think it's just going to be really easy to swap out one thing, but actually you end up having to swap out 2 or 3 things to go along with it. So the ideal of a really easy upgrade path works sometimes, and other times it doesn't. So all of this stuff are things you should really keep in mind if you are building a system right now. You should look forward and ask yourself, what are some of the parts I can get now that'll make it less cumbersome to upgrade later? Instead of maybe getting an older motherboard that's kind of near the end of its life cycle that won't support newer processors, maybe get one of the newer ones. Maybe get a power supply that gives out a bit more juice than you're currently using. And the big one is get a nice case with enough space to upgrade things in the future. I mean, the case is the thing you're going to be looking at the most often anyways. You probably should make it look kind of nice. A small advantage that pre-built systems do have is that they tend to already be well coordinated in terms of color and aesthetic and design and stuff. If you build your own system from scratch, you'd have to make sure all of your components look good together if that's what you were trying to do. An obvious workaround to this is to just do whatever you want with the internal components and then just get a nice looking case that doesn't have any side panels that you can see through. I know a lot of people that do this. If you do care about what the inside stuff looks like and you do want to see it, you're going to have to spend a bit more time on that. And you're really going to have to spend time doing the part of PC assembly that is easily the most frustrating and time consuming for new people, which is cable management. To stretch my analogy from earlier, it's where you'd have to make your pizza look more like a gourmet pizza instead of just a bowl of spaghetti. The last and probably the biggest thing to discuss here is warranties and repairs. Pre-built systems usually come with a kind of warranty plan of some kind, so if it breaks down or something happens, you're able to return it, get some tech support to help you repair it. Basically, the PC itself has a warranty. If you build a custom system, yeah, the individual components, graphics card, processor, and whatnot will have their own individual warranties, but you have to figure out which part is broken first before you can get anything repaired. If something's broken in your computer and you turn it on and it just doesn't turn on, doesn't show anything on the screen, or doesn't boot to Windows, a lot of the times it will not be immediately obvious what the actual problem is. And so it takes some troubleshooting, it takes some time and some knowledge of the system to figure it out. So if you're the kind of person that tends to get frustrated with repairing tech stuff, or you just don't think you might have any time for that, then maybe pre-built systems are the way to go for you. But once again, I have to add in another caveat. Warranties for pre-built systems are not magic, and not all companies are going to be as nice or benevolent about this. If you've ever had to return anything before, you know how it can sometimes be frustrating. And if this is your PC, this is something you do work on, and you have to ship it away for weeks before you get it back, that's a hassle. That might take more time than if you just yourself learned how to fix the computer. You may not like the idea of being your own tech support, but if we're talking about a tool that you use all the time, it really does make sense to understand how it works, in the same way that it's helpful for many people to learn basic things about how their car works and how that should get repaired, or maybe stuff that you can put off. This I think falls into a similar category. The number of video editors I've run into who just put up with strange behavior on their computers, even stuff that's totally and easily fixable because they just haven't bothered to take the time to learn why their computer is doing what it's doing, is astonishing to me. So much time could be saved with just a bit of extra knowledge of how it is that this tool that you use all the time works. And also, I'd say it's really fun, and it gives you a sense of accomplishment to have put this system together. So just to summarize, to answer the question pre-built or custom PC, as many people online say, it depends. It just depends on what your priorities are and where you want to spend your money. Generally speaking, I recommend building your own PC, and we have resources here on this channel that can help you with that. But if you're not super interested in problem solving and building all this stuff yourself and figuring things out, then yeah, it's totally fine to go and get a pre-built system. If you do choose to get a pre-built PC, definitely try and get it from a well-known, well-reviewed brand, and really look at all the components, not just the flashy ones that they'll list on the spec sheet, but all of them, and see, am I getting a good deal with this versus if I just built it myself, or even just other pre-built PC vendors might have a better deal on the same set of components. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you have any suggestions of your own on why you might want to get a pre-built versus a custom PC, feel free to comment below. And definitely consider subscribing, because in the near future, we're going to be doing a video on the new processors that were just released by AMD that totally shake up the previous video we just recently did on PC parts for 2020. So look forward to that, and I'll see you next time.